Yo Internet, welcome back. Today, we're gonna take a little bit of a detour on Mustang things. Even though it is related to Mustangs, it's about our product. Our plug and play Coyote swap harness for the early S127 utilizes a proprietary connector that I designed to interface with our harness to your 4.6 ECU body connector. Now, I've had this part printed, 3D printed with SLA, stereolithography, I think I pronounced that right, a very precise 3D printing process that is capable of having precision down to like 10 microns. Now, if you're not familiar with what a micron is, 10 microns is about half of thousandths. If you're not familiar with what thousandths of an inch is, well, let's just say that is the half of a third of a thickness of a piece of paper. So we're talking pretty precise here. So what I wanted to get into is I had a little issue with my supplier who was making it with SLA process. And I've made over 3 dozen of these harnesses since last year releasing the plug and play swap harness. So I don't want to like name drop or give the company a bad name, because I also get parts made CNC machined by them that I've designed as well for make a modular product. So what I'm going to do, since I had some issues, they did a reprint for me as a courtesy. I was able to use one of them out of the 6, and my cost, believe it or not, like for each of those little proprietary 3D printed connectors was like $80. And it's not like CNC jobs where if you get it made in bulk, the price significantly goes down. It stays about the same. You get a little bit of a break, but not much. So what I wanted to show you is kind of give you a guessing game on which connector. So let me back up a little bit. Since I only had one, I was basically out this money. I was like, I had some harnesses to fulfill. I need a new supplier and figure this out fast. So once they were told me they're going to reprint them, I went online, did a whole bunch of research to see who could get this thing printed for me with a reasonable amount of time and cost. And what I found was exactly the opposite of what I received. I am pleased with one of my suppliers, and I got 5 connectors here, as you may have not seen in the thumbnail, and I'll kind of go over what each one cost. I'm not going to tell you where they came from and if they worked or not. All right, so here's 5 connectors, all SLA, except one of them. Let's see here. Yeah, this one was actually a reprint in a different process. I believe it's still similar to an SLA, but anyway, first one is SLA printed. You can read the numbers on the back. They're all legible, nice and shiny, just a little, not too much warping or anything, and you can kind of see I've had my way with them there. You can see the pins. There is no reference, but the pinholes are the very small ones, and those are less than 1 millimeter in square, and that's what this pin has to go through in the back if it'll focus. So what I've had to do is see if I could poke through and see if I could install it. Now this one was more of a brittle type print. It cost me, just to get one made, came from India, it cost me $80. Half of that was shipping, and I can't use it. Not only is it white, because that like screams prototype, not a big deal for me at all, but I could poke the pin through the front side, but the back side I couldn't. There's these little tangs that retain the pin, and they're all pretty much fused shut. I did not receive any sort of design suggestion here, which I have from my original supplier too, even though after 36 parts, they seem to have an issue with the design, but this is how it has to be made. So $80 down the drain. Next one up, yeah, I switched them. I wanted to save. I can see the holes are pretty small where the pins got to go through. Even the larger 1.5 pins, the numbers are barely legible. and you can see where it's the tangs are. It's very fused, and long story short, these did not work as well. These were actually the original supplier that I had no issues with, and you can kind of, if you look at our product page, you can see this same color. You know, a supplier that we've been using since day one in our harness, and they were kind enough to reprint them, but unfortunately I was only able to use one of them for a customer, and so that's 5 of them junk. Each of them costs about 80 something bucks. So that one connector cost me like $400 for the harness that needed to be built, and I got more paperweights. Contestant number 3. Now this company, it was actually made locally, not too far from me in Tucson. They actually reached out, and this is the original process. It was an SLA resin print, and they said that there was some fusing going on, as you can see in the back, and they wanted to make it a different process, which I'll show you the last one. But the holes they're defined a lot better. You can see how more sharp they are, the pins go through, and because the material is a little more flexible, I actually was able to go through each and one of the tangs and kind of flex them, and they weren't even that bad and the pin retains and it releases. So I can use the pin removal tool, and this is a usable part. Again, it is white. I asked them if they can make it in black, but the only other option they had was clear. Definitely not doing that, because we do epoxy these to retain the pin even further as a secondary lock mechanism. So these, I originally ordered 2. They were 218 bucks. So that was, you can do the math, 109 bucks with shipping included with that. But this was the original print, and they went to a different one, which is this one. And this one showed up first and didn't work. It was more rigid material, tangs didn't work, and the holes were a lot smaller. So they were kind enough to send me the 3 original material that I requested, and all 3 of them worked. So that was pretty cool. So if you can do the math, I actually got more connectors for the price, but 2 of them didn't work. 3 of them, carry the 2, you can do the math. $200 and some odd dollars divided by 3 is how much that connector each cost. If I got to use it in a pinch, I will. Now, contestant number 4. It was the ringer that I did not expect to happen. Look at the legibility out here. Now you can see the slots when it isn't fused, and you can see daylight through there, and the holes are really well defined. The slots for all the pins, the numbers, everything. And one thing I didn't tell you guys is how it snaps into an OEM connector. They all do that just fine, but this one, you can tell the holes are just, and the tangs, look at that definition there. Nothing's fused, everything looks like it should. And the one difference I saw is looks like the printing lines were at a 45, like they printed it at an angle, versus the other ones printed them flat. I think that's why they got the definition out of here. And the cost, it was made overseas. The cost was, I got 10 of these for 80 something shipped. Yeah, and it was the best SLA, still the same process. That particular supplier did reach out. They had really great communication. Unexpectedly, their concern was the numbers and the logo being less than desirable for that process as far as like the dimension there. They didn't mention anything about the pin slots being too thin or the fusing. This just turned out really well, and it's a nice color. Like, it's even better than the OG color. I feel it's closer to like an OEM black for a connector. So really happy with that, and the price. Last one we touched on a little bit was a no-go from our local supplier, and you can go into this a little more. You can see some warpage. Their communication was great, just unfortunate that they can't make them in a darker color, and the cost just wasn't there. So I thought I'd share some of my trials and tribulations with precision 3D printing. If any of you guys know any other vendors that I may have not came across on my internet machine search, please let me know, because this process is seems to be a little finicky between suppliers. Some people are like, oh, we can't do that, but then there is one company I didn't use. that their price you can change the resolution on the print, which basically just changes the each layer to be smaller. Like I believe all these prints are like a 4,000ths per layer, and I think that resolution gets cut in half, but then the price almost doubles. And I feel like this print doesn't require a high resolution, like anything less than a 4,000ths. So that's like the thickness of a piece of paper, thick per layer, per se. So yeah, if you guys know any other 3D printer, supplier, or manufacturer that can do precision prints at a reasonable cost, it might, shoot me a message, put it down in the comments, see what happens. One weird thing I noticed was all the particular smells in these. So if you don't, like this one smells sweet. Literally it smells like, I don't even know, it's like vanilla. It's so strange. But even some of these, the one I got today from the resin was still like gooey and sticky on there. And same thing with this one that actually works. So if you're not familiar with the SLA printing processes, from what I understand now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, is a layer of resin gets put down, and then concentrated UV light gets cast on that layer to where it needs to be hardened, and they build a layer up, and repeat that kind of process. So it kind of reveals itself in there on some of these connectors that some resin was left behind, and some of them you can see, like this one you might not be able to see, but some of these holes were closed off, and it was just, it wasn't even hardened. It's able to poke a hole through the goo or the resin, if you will. So yeah, kind of an interesting subject here that I've had to go through. So like I said, let me know if you guys know anybody that knows how to or knows a facility that does precision 3D printing with an SLA processor or otherwise that is reasonable, because I've gotten some wild quotes. Like this company wouldn't even respond to me. I was asking them why their cost was so much, because you upload their file or you send them your file. A lot of these places are instant quotes, and I was really throwing a Hail Mary with the like $8 a piece one. Works great. But one company did a manual quote, and it's about only like $1,600 to make one. I was like, this is made out of plastic or polyurethane or whatever it is, right? Not like titanium. You're not printing this thing out of titanium, because I've gotten quotes that are like literally 100 times less than yours, and they stonewalled me. So yeah, interesting array. So we went from like $8 a piece to almost $1,700 a piece for costing these things. So I'd like to, I like to support in the USA, but I also know the reality of running a business. And let me know if you guys know any process out there that, or any, facilities that do this kind of stuff. Just see what they see, if the file is, something that they can handle. So yeah, you guys know what to do. We're doing the YouTube thing. If you like this video, do the thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. I do have some other things down the line I'm going to share with you guys soon. So we'll see you next time.